Welcome, ladies and Garfields. Yes. Well, now we're going to make a review of passive voice. So please focus, and you are going to understand this by the end of this lesson. It's a short lesson because this topic is easy. We're going to look at as much examples as we can, so for you to understand. Okay, so let's start. We have here the structure. Okay, we have two things here. Give me 1 second. Yes. So we're going to start with the active voice. Okay, active voice. We have subject plus verb plus object. Okay, well, for example, I played. Oh my god. Oh my god. Okay, for example, I played with my dog. So who is the subject? I. The verb played. The object my dog. Okay. So that's an active voice. I played with my dog. Another one. I went to the cinema. So this is an active voice. I went to the cinema. Subject, verb, object. So this is the normal way we express, right? The everyday English. But what happened? Well, then we're going to look at uses. And then now we have another one, which is the passive voice. And what happened with the passive voice? Well, look at this. We're going to, you have colors for this, so you understand this as easy as you can. So, for example, in our active voice, okay, in our active voice sentence, the subject is in red, the verb is in green, and the object is in purple. But what happened in passive voice? Our object in this sentence, our object now is going to be our subject. But it's not going to be now here like the object. No, now it's our subject, the subject of our sentence. Okay? Now it's our subject. Why? Because we want to focus on it or in the action that it is receiving. Okay? So now our object now is our subject. Okay, so it's purple. You can identify. Well, we have here formerly the object. What is this? Formerly is before. Antes. Antes era el objeto, ahora es el sujeto de nuestra oración. And then we have the verb. But what happened here? Well, the verb is no longer just a normal verb. Your verb in passive voice, your verb has to be verb to be plus past participle. What is past participle? Well, let's see. For example, we have the infinitive form, which is eat. Okay, eat is infinitive form. Then we have the past simple form of the verb, which is ate, right? And finally, the past participle form, which is eaten. So, what are you going to use? Well, you're going to use eaten, of course. So, past participle is just a name of a form of any verb you want. Okay, that's in irregular verbs, right? But in regular verbs, we have, for example, we're going to work with work. We have work, and as an infinitive, in past simple is worked with ed, and if in past participle, the same is worked. So it's always going to be the third verb. So that's past participle. That's the form of a verb. We're going to use eaten or worked. This is not difficult. But what happened with verb to be? Well, your verb to be is going to tell you which tense are you in. For example, if you see this, if you see is eaten, if you see is eaten, of course, the verb to be is, right? Verb to be is Eaten is the past participle. But what happened here? If you see is eaten, oh my god. If you see is eaten, well, this is your what? What is the tense? Is present simple passive voice, right? Present simple passive voice or simple present passive voice, you want to decide. So if you see was eaten, well, this is past simple passive voice, right? Everything depends on your verb to be. Todo depende del verbo to be. En la forma en la que la encuentres, es la forma, te da el tiempo, ¿ok? El tiempo en el que estás hablando. So is, present simple, was, were, well, am, is, are, present simple, passive voice, right? Was, were, past simple, passive voice. But what happened in present continuous, for example, is, well, he is eating chicken, for example. He is eating chicken. So it will be, you will have this is being, oh my God, is being eaten. Okay, is being eaten. That's the way. But today we're not going to look at well, we're not going to look at continuous forms. No. Remember, this month we are looking at um present simple, past simple, future with will, and also present perfect. Okay, then we're going to look at some examples. But this is the basic. Everything, if you want to know which tense are you talking in or are you reading, well, you have to focus on the verb to be. That's just that. Okay? So, enough with structures. We're going to continue. So, at the end, we have the agent. What is the agent? Well, as you can see, the agent is in red in passive voice. In active voice, the red is the subject, right? So now our subject is not anymore the subject because the subject is our formerly object. What is formerly? Previous, before. Nuestro objeto de la oración en active voice se volvió sujeto. Y nuestro sujeto se volvió agente, ¿ok? No se volvió objeto, se volvió agente. Es el agente, es el que hace la acción. ¿Por qué? Porque acá el sujeto está recibiendo la acción. Vamos a ver un ejemplo acá abajo para que se entienda mejor. So let's see, our example is here. The chef is the subject, cooked the meal is the object, right? Cooked is the verb. So the chef cooked the meal. What happened now? If you want to change this active to passive, well, you have to use the meal, which was your formerly object, now as a subject. No, as your new subject. The meal is your new subject. And you have to use the verb to be. Well, was, here we have was cooked. Okay, cooked, past participle. But why was? ¿Por qué was? ¿Por qué tenemos was acá? Bueno, nuestra oración anterior, ¿en qué tiempo está? Pasado simple. No, what cooked. Cooked es pasado simple. No tenemos nada por acá, ningún otro auxiliar, entonces la oración está en pasado simple. Si tú quieres usar tu, bueno, tu oración en voz pasiva en pasado simple, tienes que usar was y em, el verbo en past participle, ¿ok? En su tercera forma. Y por último tenemos el agente. ¿Quién es el agente? The agent. Who's the agent? Well, it was our previous subject, the chef. But now it's not anymore the subject, it's the agent who is doing the action. Because now our subject is receiving the action. Which action is being cooked? Well, it was cooked actually. By who? By the agent. Okay, so this is it. This is just this is well, passive voice. It's not difficult. So I hope that now you are like this and not like this like yesterday in class. All right, so let's continue, guys. Let's continue. We are going to look at, well, this is the shorter form. Well, you're not going to write all of this, but it's similar. Subject, be, past participle, agent. Okay, Now you know the structure. We're going to look at some examples. So, these are the main. Okay, these are the main uses. So focus here. These are the main uses. We have when the focus is on the action or result, not the doer. Okay, not the doer. What is doer? Well, el que hace la acción. It's not the doer anymore. We are focusing, okay, we are focusing, nos centramos en el que hace la acción. Perdón, nos centramos en la acción o en el resultado, más no en el que hace la acción. ¿Ok? Ese es uno de los usos de voz pasiva. So, esos tres al final tienen una relación similar, todos se complementan, van a ver. Vamos a empezar con el número uno. When the focus is on the action or result. Okay, the focus is on the action or result, not the doer. So the report was submitted on time. The report was submitted on time. Here, are we focusing on the doer? No, right? We're focusing on the action. What action? That the report was submitted. Now, it's important for us that this was submitted, not who did it. Okay, we don't have it also. Next example, the problem was solved quickly. Here we are focusing on that the problem was solved, not who did it. Okay? Nos centramos en quién resolvió, nos centramos en que el problema fue resuelto, más no quién lo resolvió. En el anterior también nos centramos en que el reporte fue enviado, no quién lo envió. Entonces tú cuando quieres enfocarte en la acción o en el resultado de tu acción, más no en quién la hace, ese es un buen momento para usar voz pasiva. Here we have another example. The project was completed ahead of schedule. So what is important here? That the project was completed. The car was washed yesterday. Well, it's important that the car was washed. Know who did it. By my brother, maybe, but it's not important. Okay, so we are focusing on the action. The film was watched by millions. So here, it's important that the film was watched. Watched. Okay, watched. It doesn't matter who did it. Okay, but we have it here, right? By millions. But it's not important. It's not precise. We're not saying who did it, just millions of people. But it's important that the film was watched. And well, finally, we have the fire was extinguished before it spread. Well, here it's not important or it's obvious who did it, right? The fire was extinguished. It's important. We are focusing on the action, not who did it, ¿ok? Estamos enfocados en la acción o el resultado, más no en quién lo está haciendo. ¿Y quién va a extinguir el fuego? ¿Quién más? Las personas, los bomberos, claro. Who else? No va a ser las mascotas, right? So, en este caso no estamos viendo mucho que si es obvio quién lo hizo o si es general. Estamos enfocándonos en el resultado. Ahora, en los ejemplos que vamos a tener en el 2 y el 3 claramente también te estás enfocando en la acción y el resultado. Y también es obvio quién lo hace. Así que por eso digo que todos están relacionados. Okay? Now let's continue with number 2. Number 2 says when the doer is obvious or general. Well, simple. The things that are obvious is here, okay, in purple by the teacher. For example, the homework was given to the students by the teacher. Who else is going to give you homework if it's not your teacher? So it's obvious, right? It's obvious. Who else? Who else? The baker? No, right? The police officer? No. So next one, the thief was arrested by the police. So we are focusing on the thief was arrested, but also we don't have to mention who did it. Why? Who else is going to arrest people or bad people? Well, of course, the police. It's not going to be, again, the baker, right? So it's simple, guys. The fire was put out by the firefighters. Who else is going to be? Not going to be the baker again. Well, let's stop with the baker, but you understand, right? Now, you can mention it. Of course, it's not bad. Thank you for mentioning it, but you're being, it's implied. It's implied. We all know who did it. You don't have to, but you can. The meal was prepared by the chef. Who else is going to prepare the food or the meal? The teacher? The thief? The police? No, right? The chef. Who else? The decision was made by the committee. Who else is going to decide things? The chef? Maybe in his kitchen. But well, in this case, it was this the agent was well were them. Now the food was served at 7 p.m. by the chef or server. Who else is going to serve the food? Again, it's not going to be the police, the fireman. No. So well, it's simple. You don't have to mention, as I said, it's not necessary. But if you want, you can do it. You're free to do it. But if you feel that it's obvious who did this action, well, you can omit it and you can use again the passive voice. If you are not understanding me, well, in Spanish maybe no. I let's try to speak in English. Come on, we are in intermediate 5. So yes, let's continue now with number 3. Now, when the doer of the action is unknown or irrelevant. So again, everything is connected. Let's see. The window was broken. Well, here we don't know who did it. We don't know who broke it, right? So, well, you can use when you don't know. Well, this is a use. When you don't know who did the action, you must use passive voice. Otherwise, you will say this, right? Someone broke my window. You can say this. Of course you can. It's not bad. Someone broke my window. But if you want to sound more formal, you want to, well, indeed, some sound formal, or you do not want to mention the subject, you can use passive voice, and your subject will be the agent, right? So, the window was broken. We don't know who broke it. The car was stolen last night. We don't know who did it. We assume it was a thief, but we don't know exactly the name of the person, right? So as it is unknown, we can use passive voice. The letter was sent yesterday. Well, it's not important. We don't know who sent it. It's irrelevant, or well, we are focusing on the action that the letter was sent. It doesn't matter who did it. So everything is related. The food was eaten while I was away. Well, the person who ate it is not specified. You're not specifying. You can do it. Maybe you know it, but you don't want to specify who did it, so you can use passive voice. The phone was dropped on the floor. We don't know who dropped it. We just found that in the floor, right? So if you do not know who did it, you are you have to use, or you must use, you should use passive voice. The phone was, well, the example, the package was left at the wrong address. Well, here is who left it is not important. The thing that is important is that the package was left in the wrong address. It could be the mailman or whoever, but it's not important, right? It's not important. What is important here is, well, the action. All right, guys. So that's it. That's it. Now, I hope you are understanding this because it's not difficult. Some examples clarify everything. Now, what happened here? Well, here is the same what we saw yesterday. To emphasize the object or not and not the subject, this means that the object becomes the subject of the sentence. Okay, your object, your previous object, now is the subject of the sentence, and the action performed on it, it's highlighted. So we are focusing on the action. En otras palabras, nos enfocamos en la acción que recibe nuestro objeto, que era antes nuestro objeto, que ahora es nuestro sujeto. Antes era nuestro objeto de nuestra oración, ahora es nuestro sujeto. ¿Y por qué es nuestro sujeto? Porque queremos enfocarnos en él. queremos hablar del objeto, queremos enfocarnos en la acción que recibe el objeto o el resultado de lo que quiera decir. Entonces, si nuestro objeto se vuelve nuestro sujeto se vuelve nuestro agente. ¿Ok? El agente es el que hace la acción. Pero en la voz pasiva nos enfocamos en la acción, bueno, en la acción que se realiza sobre el objeto, que antes era objeto, ahora es sujeto. Ya hablamos de eso, espero que no sea un trabalenguas. Now, well, as an example, well, the same, right? The teacher gave us a surprise test. A surprise test was given to us by the teacher. So here, where we are focusing on, well, the test that was given to us, not the teacher who did it. We are focusing on, well, the action. The surprise test was given to us. That's the action. Number two, we have the subject is not important or obvious. Well, this is the same. We saw some examples there. The blouse was made in China. So it's not important who made it. The thing is important is that it was made in that place, right? We do not say people made this in China. Well, of course, right? You do not find this in your in your in your objects or whatever you bought. In America, tigers are sometimes kept as pets. Well, who else is going to keep them? ¿Extraterrestres? No, right? Personas. Las personas, bueno, mantienen animales como mascotas, ¿no? Kept as pets. So, simple. People. Who else? It's not going to be more animals. A chimpanzee, maybe. No, right? Next one. We don't know who the subject is. Usually for crimes. Okay? For example, no, you don't know. It's a crime. In news, for example. So the first example is kind of my beer was stolen. Well, you're giving information, right? My beer was stolen. I'm focusing on that. But the second is more like a crime, right? A crime that you could hear in the news, maybe. For example, the man was murdered on his way home from work. So here, what is important? Well, that it was murdered. Okay, I'm giving you the information. I'm not saying who because I don't know. Could be anyone. Right? I'm not going to say someone killed him. You can do it, but again, if it's a formal context, si es un contexto formal, quiere sonar formal, eh, escrito también suena muy formal, deberías usar voz pasiva. Just to finish, the same here. To give impersonal or formal instructions. What is impersonal? As I told you yesterday, well, it's to give rules, manuals, but it's when you're talking in general. Okay, cuando hablas en general, cuando le hablas a un grupo, más no a una persona específica, that's impersonal instruction. No estás apuntando a una sola persona, estás hablando en general. So, for example, personal instruction. Personal instruction, okay, es una instrucción personal. Te digo a ti, for example. I don't know, Camila. Camila, you must turn off your phone before the exam. So I'm talking to Camila, right? But what happening in personal? In personal instructions, for example, I'm talking to a group. Phones must be turned off before the exam. I'm talking to the group. I'm talking to everyone, not just Camila, not just Natalie, not just Mari Carmen. Okay, I'm talking to everyone in the class. And that's it, guys. That's it. I hope everything is clear now. Okay? And if you have any questions, please just ask me. Just ask me. Now, before you go, we're going to look at this as fast as we can. Because this, I think we start yesterday, we started with the wrong information, right? We started with this, and this is kind of, what is this? I don't understand, teacher. Well, yes, it was my bad. That's why I'm recording a video. Yes, so let's see. Well, this is easy, right? The first use is easy, subject is unknown, obvious or not important. Acá tienes más ejemplos, si los quieres leer, no voy a enfocarme en eso porque hemos estado hablando de eso los últimos 10 minutos, maybe. So, shift, focus. Well, es lo mismo que hemos estado viendo, right? The focus is on the result or action rather than the person or thing who did it or who does the action. So, in the original text, we are talking about who? about John Pemberton. Claro que sí, acá tú lees todo el texto y te das, bueno, te da a entender que está hablando de Coca-Cola, ¿no? Bueno, en realidad la compañía, bueno, en general está hablando de Coca-Cola. Pero si tú quieres cambiar bueno, quieres cambiar el enfoque de que de que estés hablando en vez de John, porque nos falta información, ¿no? Tendríamos más texto acá sobre John, sobre su vida, qué hizo, ¿no? Si quieres cambiar el foco de atención, no quieres seguir hablando de John, sino de Coca-Cola, bueno, cambias Shift Focus y cambias, ¿no? Coca-Cola was created as a medicinal drink by John Pemberton. Later, cocaine was removed, and so on. So, as you can see, you're shifting, okay? You're shifting the subject, ¿no? Estás cambiando el foco de atención. Ya no estás hablando de John, estás hablando de Coca-Cola. ¿Se entiende? Claro que sí. I'm going to use Spanish just to finish. And well, sentence variety. I think it's clear as well. Es para dejar de sonar aburrido. Claramente tú puedes decir esto. Wait. Tú puedes decir he did A, then he did B, after that he did C, ¿no? Estás hablando en orden. Hemos visto eso también, ¿no? Para hablar de cosas cronológicas, usar pasado simple. Pero si lo usas muy seguido, tu texto se vuelve aburrido, nadie lo quiere leer, no llama la atención. Entonces, ¿qué puedes hacer para evitar eso? Bueno, tienes varias cosas. Ya sabemos que en inglés tenemos un montón de diferentes maneras de decir lo mismo. Por ejemplo, lo que hemos visto, ¿no? Con los tiempos en pasado. For example, cuando usamos pasado simple, podemos decir, ¿no? I left the house, then she woke up, ¿no? Primero me fui, luego ella se levantó. ¿Cómo digo eso? De diferente manera. Vamos a ver, piensen, chicos. So, before she woke up, I had left the house. Right? Estoy cambiando. Estoy cambiando la misma oración, estoy dando el mismo mensaje de diferente manera, usando pasado perfecto y pasado simple, en vez de usar pasado simple y pasado simple. ¿No? Bueno, that sentence variety. Y acá tenemos tres ejemplos. Los invito a leer las oraciones, entender qué tiempos estamos usando. Ahí a sus tres compañeros al último dieron sus respuestas si están correctas. Si no llegan a entender los textos, les recomiendo que vean los últimos minutos de la clase del día de ayer. Ok, chicos, so that's everything about passive voice. Recuerden que en general es hablar de una manera más formal. Ya hemos visto todos los usos. ¿Para qué volver a repetir? Ok, eso es todo, chicos. Un gusto. Si tienen dudas, ya saben, siempre yo contesto súper rápido. Y si no, es porque estoy en clase. Ok, bueno, cuídense, chicos, y véanlo cuantas veces quieran. Thank you, goodbye, take care.